Okay, so good morning to you all. My name is Idan Soffer, and I'm the Director of Support. I've been working in Exlibris for almost 10 years now, and moved to a support organization around 6 or 7 months ago, replacing Judith Frankel. I believe that most of you are familiar with her. Took responsibility for the support teams for the variety of Exlibris products, Alma, Primo, Digital, SFX, Metalib, and others. Of course, Rosetta is one of them. So naturally, this is my first RUG event, and I'm very excited and pleased to be here and meet you all finally. And for me, this conference is a great opportunity to meet you all in person, to have the face-to-face discussions, and mostly to hear your feedback. And I know that you come with the feedback about support. But this is the main thing that I would like to hear here. It was very important for us to hear about your challenges and concerns in regards to support. And I would like to use this opportunity in order to try and openly talk to you about what is the status with Rosetta support team, what have been done in the recent few months, and what are our plans and focus areas we would like to invest in order to address some of your concerns that I was just hearing about the recent 2 days. So I would like, with your permission, to start with this image of a mountain. And this mountain represents for me the level of the quality that we should provide to you, the customers. And naturally, we would like to see ourselves right there at the top of the mountain, or very high in the mountain. But we know that we are not quite there yet. And we know that there are significant things that we need to improve in order to get there. And this is our main goal and main objective. And we acknowledge that. We know that we have a way to go. And of course, I heard about it during these last 2 days, but we should not wait for an annual conference to hear about your feedback. And we have a constant and ongoing regular feedback that we receive from you. And this is a very, very important indication for us to know where we stand and to react on that, and as possible, in an early age as possible. So I would like to spend a couple of moments to share with you a few of the numbers regarding satisfaction and what we intend to do in that regards. So in this graph, you can see the average satisfaction over the last year from Q1 2016 to Q1 2017. Each column here represents an average satisfaction rate during this specific quarter. And we can see that the blue area represents the positive satisfaction, positive surveys, and the orange area represents the things that you sent to us with feedback about your concerns or things that are not working well. And we can clearly see that we have a concerning trend around Q4 2016 and Q1 2017. And we take this trend very seriously. And I talked to some of you during these 2 days, and I know that some of you, and perhaps all of you, are aware that we have some difficulties or changes around this area, mostly on the area of staffing of the team. There are a few turnovers in a relatively short period of time that had some impact, and unfortunately on you as well, in regards to the load on the team and in regards to the level of the quality that we were able to provide back then. So, of course, we have now a top priority goal to address this concern trend and get it back to the place that we want to see it, and of course, starting to climb back in the mountain. So we have a goal, but this is not enough. We need to make sure that we know what are the pain points, what are your real issues in order to address them. So we drill down a bit on these areas, okay, on the orange areas, looking for the main pain points, the main categories that invoked this trend. And here you can see the categories in percentage, and almost every one of the satisfaction surveys that you have sent us, you have submitted to us, relates to at least one of these categories. Okay, there is the time to resolution. It takes us too long to handle the case and give you the expected solution. Communication, okay, and communication relates to not enough ongoing updates. When we start to handle the case and it's still in process, you should get much more updates on that. Communication can relate to just misunderstanding of the problem and too many back and forth that you can spare and save your time. So there are many issues related to communication. There is also unsatisfactory resolution and missing RCA. By missing RCA, I mean missing that we don't always provide you the real reason for the reported problem, okay? The missing root cause analysis. But naturally, we want to invest on these areas, and the top priority are the time to resolution and communication. These are clear issues that need to be addressed by support and should be improved. Okay, so we acknowledge the issue. We know that we have a goal now to get back to a much better level of service, and we know what are the pain points. But now we need to make sure that we have the clear path and the right direction to go there. And for that, we need to make sure that we focus on the areas that address your pain points. And for that, we gave a lot of thought and determined that we're going to invest in these 6 areas, these 6 criteria that we believe that if we focus on them and we show progress on them, this should address the pain points that I just mentioned. So with your permission, I will just review them and explain a bit on each one of them. So of course, it all starts with the right team. And as I mentioned just before, this is the main challenge that we had around 6 or 7 months ago. And we needed to address this as a first priority, because without having the right team to the job, we won't be able to move along with the progress and with the plan. So this is a challenging aspect in itself. It's not easy to find the right person. As you know, there is a unique profile in Rosetta, and all the sessions yesterday and even the session just now emphasize the complexity of the product and the variety of skills that requires for each member in support of such product. So we invest on having the right people in the team, and I will introduce them shortly. And we try to find the right combination between high technical approach and potential that is required in such a product as Rosetta, along with, of course, good and support skills or communication skills, which also required very much in our aspect. Of course, now that we have a team, the next challenge we are constantly concentrate on is to get them up to speed and improve the performance. And for that, we invest now a lot on educating the team, different training sessions, some basics are more advanced, along with the cooperation with development, workshops on communication skills, and everything that is required in order to make them improve the performance and bring them to the maturity team that we expect. Once we have a right team, and hopefully we'll get them to the level of performance that we expect, we should invest and we should make sure that we always keep focused on our objective. And our very effective tool to do that is by defining a clear and effective KPIs. KPIs stand for key performance indicators. And this tool or these performance indicators allow us to monitor the progress of the areas that you would like to focus on and make sure that we are remaining in the right direction. So we have different KPIs. There are, in general, 2 types. There are KPIs on the team level, such as the level of backlog, how many cases actually are still open in our queue, how many cases are relatively old and should be addressed as time for resolution. And there are also personal KPIs, such as how many cases have I, as a member, have handled during a specific time. how many escalated cases do I have specifically, and making sure that we are not loading the members with too much cases or too much escalations at once. So we have KPIs for all these aspects, and it's a tool that helps us to make sure that we are in the right direction and we are well balanced between the team and the tasks. Quality of service, of course, it was very easy if all the questions, all the cases that submitted are very easy, and it just takes us a very short troubleshooting and then getting back to you. But we know that this is not a situation for the majority of the cases. The majority of the cases takes time, takes analysis, sometimes back and forth, just to make sure that what we needed. And along this process, we need to make sure that our quality of service, that our serviceability kept in high level. And we know that we had some issue. This is relate or refer to the second pain point that I just showed you about communication. This is all about that. And we need to make sure that we are good in that and not only good in the performance or in the knowledgeable in the product. Support is not alone in this important task. Perhaps it starts in support, but we should have, and we do have, a very good cooperation and internal interfaces with our team colleagues. And of course, some of them are development and product management, but we have also installation and education and other teams that we all be kept in the loop, making sure that we are synchronized with our focus areas, with our objectives, with our prioritization. So this is a very important aspect in the plan. And last but not least is to continue our improvement, making sure that we have a lessons learned mindset in our own team. And of course, it's very, very important in our stage now, where we know that we need to improve. But it's true in any case, in any level, at any stage. We must be a learning team and making sure that we learn from our mistakes and what someone do, making sure that everyone is familiar with it, so we'll get improved by time. So we defined these criteria, and I just want to share with you what was done in the just recent months in each one of the areas in order to start see the progress in our objectives. So this is a good opportunity to introduce you to the team. This is the Rosetta support team, and I'm sure that you see relatively many new faces. And again, this is because of the turnover and the reestablishment that we wanted to do within the team. So I'll just go briefly on each one of them. Of course, starting with Alex Zelenko is also here today. And Alex is the new Rosetta support team leader, coming from very two successful years in Primus support. And Alex is a good example of someone who brings a very good technical background. Alex, in his background, is a software engineer, and combine it with a very good communication and support skills. So Alex just joined us in February. We have here also Paul Friedman and Rina Galvez, who I believe that most of you are familiar with them. They are already few years within the team and are relatively knowledgeable and experienced. And we have new faces, Marek, who is located in Czech Republic, and two new recent members that are located also in Jerusalem, Sigal Nizri and Yuda Baron. And when we recruit these members, again, we put a lot of focus on the potential of the skills and to make sure that they are matched to the challenges that we have in a product such as Rosetta. Okay, so this is the team. And of course now, we are now in process of educating the team, train them, making sure that in the minimum time, but it takes time, and we know it takes time to learn a product such as Rosetta, and to make sure that we know how to support not only the trivial questions, but also the complex and more challenged cases. So they are now in a training team, in a training program. As I mentioned, include basic training, advanced training, workshops, and other options. But still, at the end, what makes the most benefit experience is to just start solving cases and case after case after case, exposing to more and more complex cases. This is the best way to improve. About our KPIs. So Adi mentioned it just briefly yesterday in his session, but I would like to just say a few words about it. So here you see a graph that represents, again, your satisfaction rate. Here it's now with this line, the same line that we saw before. But now we just added what was done during Q2. And you can see that along the recent months after we have recruited it, after Alex joined the team, we were able to address the first priority, which is the level of backlog that we have. This is a key issue. Once you have a maintainable and relatively low level of cases, then you can start and look at other issues such as communication, such as it's time for resolution, such as working with development on things that are in development, and so on. So this is a key issue for us, and we invest a lot of it, and you can see that now we're in relatively low level, but this is not the end, okay? We are continuing to invest in this area, and we would like to make sure that we are kept in a very, very satisfied level, low level, that will allow us to be much more effective and communicative along the way. We also see, for the first time after 6 months, we see a starting of a positive trend around satisfaction. I'm not sure that this will remain or kept, because we are now in progress also to address the old cases, the aging cases, and of course, even if we close the case after a long time, you may, and you are all absolutely entitled to say that you are still not satisfied because it took too long. So we do expect that over the coming months, when we deal with the old cases, we still see cases of dissatisfaction, hopefully. In parallel, we'll do a better job in the incoming cases, and by that, hopefully we'll continue this trend. But this is a good sign, but it's just a start, okay? And this is a momentum that we need to keep and make sure that we are continuing with this direction. Just one comment about it, because I know that someone referred to it in yesterday. The levels of backlog that I'm showing here is the level of backlog that currently assigned to the support team. Okay, to the support team, there's another backlog assigned to development. We are familiar with that. It's less challenging because we are well familiar with that. We have a team. It's not that someone was changing development as well. So it's well maintained. There are still work to do there as well, but this is our main focus. Main focus is to make sure that things that are currently on our plate, we're not analyzed that, we're not sure, they still require troubleshooting. This is the queue that you see. This is the level that you see here. Okay, just to make sure that we are clear here. Okay, another success key that I mentioned. Guys, if you have any questions, please let me know. Don't wait to the end. I'm perfectly fine to have any clarification or elaboration. Yeah, I've noticed that, so please feel free.
Well, seeing as you're offering, just a couple of questions. The very first slide with all those stats that you have there.
With all?
With all the stats, with the customer
satisfaction
stuff. I tell you that's across the whole portfolio.
No, it's important. This one?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Is that across the whole portfolio or just within Rosetta?
It's just within Rosetta. It's just within Rosetta, of course. And it's
Okay. And one before. There's another one before, wasn't it?
Sorry?
Okay, cool. And the other question was, you're looking at training, the training, bringing up the staff up to skill sets within Rosetta, which is great because then they become great Rosetta people. But are they also getting cross-product training as well?
It's not the first priority. It depends on the need of the interoperability between other teams and other products. First, we need to make sure that they have great familiarity with Rosetta and in great depth. By then, we will be able to do cross-product as well. But the most urgent thing is to make them up to speed with Rosetta first. Of course, along the cases, Along the needs that we will see, we'll see where we should invest in as well. It's a good question, and we need to give it a thought. But currently, the main training program is mostly focused on Rosetta. Any other questions? Yeah.
What's the percentage of
It's not gonna leave the table.
completion of surveys? So if you send out 100 surveys, how many of those surveys did you do?
Good question.
Can you just repeat the question?
Sorry, the question was what was the rate of completion of surveys that we send to you after a case is being closed? I don't have the numbers here, and I can verify them after the session and share it with you, but I can tell you that we can do the math right now, but around when I took these specifically 2 quarters to verify what are the categories, it was around, it dealt with around 20 dissatisfactions. Okay, it was around 60 or something like that, and overall 15 dissatisfaction, around 60 that was a positive satisfaction. I believe it's overall around 20 or 30% for the overall cases, but I'll need to verify that. And of course, this is a good opportunity to encourage you to send us more and more surveys. Okay, this is an excellent tool for us, very, very effective for us. And just from the discussion that I had with you over the last 2 days, I know how it stays in sync with what we knew just because of just fluent satisfaction. It's the same people, it's the same problems. So I do encourage you to send us more and more surveys. And in the surveys, there is an option to rate us between 1 and 4, and also to have a free text and explain what was the reason for this rate. And I really encourage you to also spend a few minutes and give us the main reason for the grade, and that way we will know what we are doing good and we should maintain and keep, and what we should focus and should address better in the future. So rating, it's good, but the comments within the rates, it's exceptional for us to see what are the pain points and to address them correctly. Any other? Yeah.
A follow-up question to that. So your percentage of satisfaction to dissatisfaction. So we're asked to rate you on a scale of 1 to 4. So within your chart, where do you draw the line on that scale of 1 to 4, satisfaction versus dissatisfaction?
So 1 or 2 are considered a low rate, okay, and 3 and 4 considered as a high rate. We see that we have it for quite some time now, and we see this is a good line to draw. When someone puts 3 or 4, it means that he's relatively satisfied with the case, but when he puts 1 and 2, he is dissatisfied. We specifically didn't want to do something in the middle like 3, like doing it like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and kept 3 in the middle, because we're not sure how we would relate. So for each survey, we'll know it's a positive or something that we need to learn from. Yeah.
Seeing as I've still got the mic here, you will get a chance later on. Just thinking about the Salesforce stickers that have got like status of in development,
Yeah.
which are always interesting ones. We assume you're doing something in the background. I hope you're doing something in the background, doing something about it. I'm just wondering, is it worth your while to at least add an update to those Salesforce tickets maybe once a month to let us know that you are doing something and it's not forgotten?
Okay, a very good question. I was intending to relate to it, but I refer to it now. We need to distinguish a bit between, of course, that from your point of view, it's still an open case and it wasn't resolved. But we need to a bit differentiate between something that are still in our queue, in support queue, and something that was moved to development. Okay, in our queue, it means that it's still being analyzed. We are not sure what is the reason for the issue, and there is still a progress that needs to be done. When we submit a case to development, it means that it was analyzed and determined as a defect or a bug, or there is a high chance that it involves a bug. And once we did that, it means that we already completed our analysis, we know what needs to be done here, and we submit it to development. So here it's just a matter of in what future release this fix will take place. So we know, and it's something that I'm sure that we're all aware, if we have 2 or 3 releases per year, if someone submitted a case that was acknowledged as a bug, let's say for January, there is good chance that it will take time at least for the next release. It could be in April, May, or June, until it will be included and be resolved completely. But the question, if you need us to update you each month that it's in development, it was defined as a bug, and it requires from development to include it in one of the releases.
I just think, because we hear about the development black hole of death. So once it goes in there, it never ever seems to come out again. I just think you're doing all this work in the background, and you're doing yourself a service by not at least letting us know that we've identified the problem, we are working out, just a quick update. It doesn't have to be in depth that we found a problem, code number, blah, 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 whatever. We just knowing that something's happening. Because if it sits there for a year, it doesn't look good.
I agree. And there's two things that we are going to do here in this aspect. One, and again, when you will be a bit bored on the slide with the relevant, but one thing is that we need to make sure that there is a workflow between support and development, happens on a weekly basis, called a triage meeting. And in that meeting, we are going over the new bugs that were opened during each week and making sure that we are pre-filtering them, okay? And we have a discussion just before RAG between Adi and Josh and me that perhaps we need to look into this specific meeting and see if we take the most out of it, and perhaps there is a room for improvement there. Meaning, through the triage, we would like to have something that right away, if something requires more information, we will ensure to get back to you and not wait until the programmer will work on it and then realize that we need more information. Okay, this is one of the purposes of the triage meeting. Another one, and perhaps here we need to do a better job, is we need to identify in this meeting if there is a bug that is relatively with low impact on the product, relatively very specific to a specific topology of a specific customer, and perhaps there is a good workaround to do, and perhaps in just cases, alert you in advance that there is a chance that currently we are not looking at a specific release in the roadmap for this specific bug, okay? And it's a matter of prioritization, and I think that we all understand that we can't deal, or it's not even good to deal with all the bugs that we have there. Again, just because that some are very, very low impact, just that some will be addressed by new functionality and not by just fixing this specifically. Some because just they have a workaround. So for these cases, I think we need to do a better job and alert you or inform you in a much earlier stage that what we called in our case status, it's a pending work plan, and in that you should advise that yeah, we should consider it, but it's not on the table right now. Okay, so by doing it's not a good, perhaps it's not a pleasant information, but this is the information that you're entitled to hear, and you're entitled to hear it in a very earlier stage. So I think that in this area we should do some improvement. And also, when I'm looking on the other side, and you said the black hole, we are now, it's already in plan, but you know, we need to do it gradually. We can't do everything at once, but it is in the plan to start looking from the most oldest cases, not only in our queue, but also in development, and work together and see if everything is still relevant. If the cases perhaps already closed by other cases that were addressed, or by other functionalities. Perhaps other that we should, again, alert you about and tell you that there are no clear plans about fixing them in the near future. And by that, starting to have much more maintainable backlog also in cases in development. So we acknowledge this challenge as well. But honesty, I think that the first thing is to make sure that our queue is getting back to a maintainable level, and by that we will have the availability and the focus to also work on what you call the black hole, or in things of the development.
It's good. It's just that from a customer's point of view, it's your queue, whether it's in support, development, pending work plan, it's your queue. That's all.
I agree with that.
Just want to make that.
I absolutely agree with that. And I'm taking responsibility on both queues,
Yeah.
but from the perspective of what was urgently required, and if I'll go back with your permission.
No, I just want to make sure that.
No, it's absolutely clear, and we take full responsibility on that. You can see here, again, it's what I called our support, okay? I'm just trying to differentiate because this was our main focus, okay? But you can see that just with this queue, you can see the trend in your satisfaction rate, okay? The queue that mostly impacts your satisfaction is support queue. Because this is only support, this is what I emphasized in the beginning, okay? This is support queue, okay? And I emphasize that because here is where the most work needed now, okay? There are cases that were not fully analyzed, fully troubleshoot. We are not sure what is the cause there. And this is a bit different about things that we know that there is a bug and we just need to work on the management level on when the most suitable release will be for that. And we need to make sure that we are well communicate with that. But the urgent tasks was about this queue. For cases that lay here in support queue that requires still analysis, required our urgent attention and getting you back in communication on these cases first, okay? And you can see that when there is a clear correlation here between when we have relatively low level of queue that it's still being analyzed on our side, and so you can see that there is relatively high satisfaction in your side, okay? It doesn't mean that the cases in the development queue are not important. It just means that this hour was the urgent thing to do was first to go back from this level that it's a load on the team, it can't be well maintained and won't allow us to do the communication, make sure that we do quality of service, making sure that we go to the resolution and not to something that is closed and we thought about. This is the thing that we needed to go down first. Okay, it doesn't mean that we are putting the development aside. And this is a very important thing to emphasize. Any other questions? Okay. So quality of service, and again, it goes back to the question that you asked now about the communication, about keeping you up to date with what is the current status, making sure that you are not feeling that the case is in black hole and you don't know what is the situation. And part of it is making sure that we are following each one of the members in the team on these support principles. And I won't go to each one of them. I'm sure that you can see the value and connect to each one of the principles here, but just to emphasize 2 or 3 here. For me, the accountability is number 1. Okay, being accountable, being responsible for your cases, this is the first thing to do. Accountable means, just as your example just now, accountable means that if I determine that some case is a bug and I communicate it to development, I'm making sure, and this is my responsibility, to make sure that they have all the information in place and ability to work with it in development. Accountability means that if I'm not coming to work, I'm making sure that my colleague will follow up on my urgent things, okay? So this is accountability, and this is the basic thing for us to start getting back to a very good quality of service. Understand the need. This is also something that I want to emphasize here. I know that you felt, and this is part of the feedback that I received through the surveys and through the discussions I had in this conference. It's very annoying from your side, and I fully understand that if you invest in opening a Salesforce, explaining the issue, and then we're starting some kind of back and forth just around if it's not clear, if something is not clear, or we are doing something and then it turns out to be not exactly what you meant. So one of the principles that we emphasize with our members now along the training is to give a lot of thought on making sure that we understand what the problem really is, what is required from us before we continue with analysis, with our communication or recommendations. And here, this is just something that I think that it's good to mention. As you know, 95% of the work is being done by texting our answers or comments and your answers or comments to the Salesforce. And it's scale and it's efficient way, but it has its own limitations. And I encourage my members, but I also encourage you that if you feel that a case is not being handled in the right direction just from the start, okay, and there are too many back and forth, I'm asking it for my members, but if you think that it's not being done, please tell it through the Salesforce. Guys, I think that this is a good timing to have a 10 minutes call, 15 minutes call, just to make sure that we understand the problem, it's clarified for us. And such a call can save us and absolutely for you an extra time that is not needed, it's not required, and again, it's getting back to the time for resolution, okay? So this is a very, very important thing that we will put focus on, and this is things that we should show improvement almost immediately. It doesn't require a great depth in Rosetta just to make sure that we understand the problem, just to make sure that we are communicating it well to you. So there are some things, especially in this area, that you should feel the improvement relatively fast. And just perhaps the last one is the ongoing communication. I touched it before, but this is something that we know that we need to improve. And this is the second pain point that I show earlier in the graph. And the ongoing communication, first I should have put it communication as a general thing. This is the thing that we need to make sure we are doing better. We should inform you on each progress, and even if progress was not done, we should just write you a comment. We are still working on that. It's still on our radar. It's not fell between the cracks, and we will update you with any new information once we have it. So this is very, very important, and I'm sure that we are all familiar with the frustration it makes us to open a case and then just to wait that something will happen, or you need to nudge us about it. This is something that I want to avoid completely. We should be proactively on that and be the first one who reacts with ongoing communication and with updates. I ran out of time? Okay, it's important enough, yeah. Okay, so I'll try just to be focused on the main messages on each slide here. I mentioned it before, and I think that there have been a good situation before, but we just need to maintain the good cooperation with other teams, such as product management, such as development, but there are others, and we are working on that very, very closely. We have to be synchronized in order to give you a good service. So I mentioned the triage meetings and the fixes prioritization. Consultancy is another important workflow that we have between support and development. If a member of the support team is not sure what is the cause of the problem, is not sure if it's a bug or there is a way to work it out in a different way, we have a defined and regular sessions between members in the support and programmers in the development, sitting together, checking the issue together, a very focused and efficient meeting, and making sure that we know what is the next thing to do here. Perhaps moving it to development because it's clearly a bug, or we have a way to resolve it later. Of course, we try to minimize the consultancies as much, because everything that requires consultancy, meaning more time, that the case is still on our side and not giving you the resolution. But again, it's a matter of maturity, it's a matter of experience and knowledge in the team. And once the team is much more mature, much more professional with Rosetta, hopefully we'll see less and less consultancy is needed, but it is a great workflow, relatively efficient, and we should continue as it requires in this area. Continuous improvement. Again, what we're doing now, it's exactly that, hearing you, understand what are the pain points. Of course, we have our means to understand it in early stage, hopefully, but here you start to see few different approaches of how we can improve ourselves and make sure that we learn from our mistakes. I mentioned, of course, the review of your customers. Just to emphasize here, each case that is rate with a 1 or 2, meaning rate with a low satisfaction, it's something that is being reviewed by me or Alex, and we are making sure that we have lessons learned on each one of these cases, know what needs to be done in order to improve it, and have a discussion with the team to make sure that everyone is familiar with the lessons learned from each one of these cases. So this is again a great tool for us to know where we need to improve and to do the necessary steps on our side. Analyze results without code fix cases. This is another case which is important in relatively early team or early members. When we believe that there is a code change requires and we assign it to development, but it turns out that there is a way to solve it without changing the code, then we get a relevant status from development, and we analyze each and one of the cases that we receive from development that we need to learn from, and we need to know how we can resolve it in the future without involving development. And again, making sure that we have the minimum time to resolution by that. And of course, the periodical calls with you, the customers. Once we have a chance to talk with you, to share with you the status, hear your concerns, hear your priority, it's a great way for us to understand what is required from us, what are the pain points at this moment, and making sure that we address them. So this is the things that we already started, and hopefully we see a good momentum, but clearly we are in an early stage and there is a way to go. So I just want to take the few minutes left and emphasize what are the focus areas that we need to continue our focus and making sure that we are on the right track, in the right momentum. So team performance, this is the first thing we need to continue our focus and attention. We need to make sure that the teams are up to speed, knows how to handle various complexity of cases, and know to give you the support that you deserve. I mentioned here other things that are very related to the performance of the team. Time to resolution, this is the main pain point that we are continuing. We will continue to invest and making sure that we see improvement on these aspects, continue to reduce the backlog of cases that, in general, focusing on aging cases, focusing on cases that are relatively old. And this, again, goes to your remark. It's both in our queue and in development queue when we're saying about continuous reduction. And, of course, there is a mutual impact between the three focus areas here. Of course, development is required, a good cooperation with them in order to focus the old cases which are in development, making sure that they are giving us the advanced training session in order to improve our team performance. So everything is in correlation, but these are the three areas that we think that we need to continue investing now in order to show improvement, and not just a short-term improvement, an improvement that will allow us to grow a team that can follow the task for a long period of time. Okay, so this is why we invest on these things now, and not just working on just to fix the cases now and so on. The team performance is the key here. It's a key issue here. Questions? Okay, so we are not there yet, but we intend to get there. We intend to go and to reach our goals that we just mentioned. And of course, you can help us. Of course, it's our responsibility, and you saw what were our intentions, but you can help us in this process. First, I think that I emphasized it throughout the presentation, but it's very, very, very essential for us to receive your feedback, to receive your comments. We encourage you to give us more and more comments, more and more feedback. That way we'll know that they are much more reliable, and we can feel that we can address them because these are the real pain points. And of course, it will allow us to understand if we are going in the right direction or there is something that we need to change in our decisions, in our plans. Okay? But this is already a thing that is being done reactively after the case is closed. Only then you are sending our feedback on that. But I really encouraging you if you feel that along the way, along the handling of the case, you see that there is not enough attention, you are not sure what is the current status of the case, you are not sure that it's getting the proper attention that you should deserve, I encourage you to use the Rosetta escalation mail. I'm included in this mail, Adi is included in this mail, Alex is included in this way. So it can't be, it will be addressed, okay? And this is my commitment to you. We will give you a first response by our management in a one-day business, in one business day, but we will continue to follow up on this issue and continue to communicate with you and ongoing updates with high priority on these cases, okay? So this is a very, very important path for you to bring our attention to focus on the most important cases that you have in your queue. This is my last slide for the presentation. My wish, and I intend to do that, but I want to stand here in front of you in next RUG and hopefully be able to proudly say that we achieved our goals, and not just say it, but feel it from you, feel it through your satisfactions, through your feedback. But this is where we want to be. We want to be to kept a very high level of satisfaction rate of yours. We want to make sure that we can say that we have a mature and educated team that can address all the cases. We want to make sure that we could keep our KPIs in the low levels where we can make sure that we give attention to all the things that it requires, and to do all of this by continuous and transparent communication to you. This is one of the most important things for us. So I thank you for our time, and I really, really believe that we are in the right direction, but it will take a bit time longer, but I think that you should see a very good improvement in the coming months, and hopefully you will keep telling us where we stand in the positive things, but also in things that we need to learn and to get better at. Thank you, and I'll be happy to answer any question.
Thank you. That was really interesting. And I think there's a lot of positives there. But I just wanted to say, like, one of the positives seems to be there's not a lot of software I know where we get this level of service. So it might not be a popular opinion in the room, but what you're doing is really cool. And I can imagine there's maybe some independence in the room today that might also be quite impressed with this. Part of what we're doing with preservation is upskilling other people, doing outreach, and only has people doing varying levels of digital literacy. One of them, I can't see many parts of this process where we can engage better. But there is one really clear point for me at the beginning of the process when we log a support case where you've got this nice triage piece now, so you can ask if there's more, if you need more information, you can find it real quick. But is there anything that we can do for you when we log a case? Is there a level of like digital literacy or skill or formatting or anything that we can do for you to perhaps log our issues and make it better, like for all of us? Because you said it's ours and it is ours.
Very, very good question. Again, we are here for you, and we need to make sure that we have this service and this discussion between us with minimal impact on your side. But of course, we will appreciate if you will know where to put the focus when you submit a case. So it's a good thing to perhaps think about and to see if we can send to you some high-level guidelines of what we will appreciate if you can send us through the case, and by that saving time in back and forth between us. So I think it can be a great initiative, and we'll look into it for sure. Thank you for that. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Idan. Ross, by the way, thanks for this. Definitely, we are working a lot on openness and communication, and definitely something, we are working also with our vendors, and that's something that we are seeing with every vendor, and we're definitely trying to have a different type of communication with our team here. And I think I can't be emphasize stronger enough than what Idan was saying. It's not support backlog. We are looking at it as one product. We are working together, development, support, product management all the time. When I'm personally aware of all the issues that are open, it doesn't matter for me whether they are in the support, currently under the support team, development team, or even if they're waiting for processing from more information from you as a customers. Because maybe you didn't have time to give us all the information, but still the issue is there. You're still not able to do it, even as it's officially we are okay because we are waiting for you. So we are not looking only on the clothing the backlog, but also making sure that looking to the future that this backlog won't be open. I mean that there will be less cases opened. So we are working on every issue that need a bug. We are checking with development. What happened? What version was this bug introduced into? Why didn't we find it, and which stage were we supposed to find it? Whether it was a design issue, development, whether we should have been able to find this in a code review done by the development team leaders, by the Selenium test, by the QA integration test, and so on. We are trying to see where we're supposed to find the bug and why we didn't find it, and then for sure making sure that our developer process, our QA processes, automation, integration, and all these processes are improved in order to ensure that this won't happen again. So again, it's not only about, it's not that we are waiting for you to open the bugs and then fixing them. We're definitely working towards making sure that less and less bugs will be open, and we are seeing this. We're looking year after year. I'm monitoring the numbers of issues found by new versions, for development done in new versions, and definitely the trend here is positive.